What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Shoot to Shoot, where every shot you do not take, you will miss. So shoot that thing. Today's episode, now that high school basketball season has gone, is over with, today we're going to focus on AAU basketball, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifference. So we have it is a phenomenon now that sometimes takes over high school. Sometimes look at AAU even better than high school. It's a cause for concern for security, player development, team fairness, and all that good stuff. And today I have a guest with me. We're going to dive into that, all those topics. And he's a father with 3 boys that plays sports. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. All right, so let's get right into it. This is my boy, Orlando Z. Holmes. I won't tell you what the Z stands for. His son done told me, though. So he's a father. He has 3 boys, 3 very athletic boys. He's a husband, all-around good guy, my former teammate and in college, and a very, very good friend. I'm a boy introducing Orlando Holmes.
I appreciate that, Joe. I appreciate that. And definitely leave that Z out. So,
No problem. All right, so we're gonna just for his we got a son of his that's going to what? Going to 11th grade next year, 12th grade?
11th grade next year.
So, and then we got his middle son, Cameron, and then we got the little one, Carmelo. And Carmelo's what grade?
3rd grade now. Yeah.
3rd grade, and
Cam's
Cam
in
is
8th.
in. All right, cool. And to be quite honest, little older my boy, Cam's my boy, but Melo might be that guy. I'm just watching. I'm just saying.
That's typically how it work out, right?
Yeah. Look at the Ball brother. Oh yeah, he's Ball Junior right there. So all right, so of course the topic is AAU and the way it's going and how it was, how it is, how you think it's going to go. First, we're going to talk about the roles of the teams. I can go back. I hate to be revisionary, but when I was in high school, AAU was around. But it was so to the point where the disparity between talent and teams, it wasn't even fair. I'll give you an example. For Lou Williams is the main guy in Virginia based. Everybody knows Lou Williams. His son played in the NBA for a while. He had a team where Iverson and Joe Smith was on the same team at one time. So that right there tells you there was no competition. The competition was no competition for them. So we at a small single-A school in rural Virginia, we get a small team. We think we get the all-stars of a couple teams here and there. You know, we get blown out by teams like that because it's no fundamental. It's just like run and gun. If you better, that's how it was. And I know from being a referee standpoint, I see my side of it. And you being a father, having your boys in it, and pretty much athletic and everything. How do you view it so far?
So one of the things, and this is just for me personally, it don't work for everyone. I have not allowed my sons to play AAU until they turn 13. I don't see any value of really watching 7, 8, 9-year-olds run up down the court. And then to the point that you just made, right? There's such a disparity in terms of talent. I mean, you have games where you walk in there and you see a team up 55-2. I mean, that's not basketball. Like, that's not help. The team that's up 55, that's not helping those kids. And the kids that's been beat by 53, that's not helping them either. So, I mean, I personally feel like, once the kids start to get to that 13-ish, 14th age, they kind of know a little bit about what they want to do. You kind of sort of sometimes have escaped that growth spurt, because you know how some kids are large at 8, and that large kid at 8 is dominating at 8. But then at 13, 14, 17, when you're no longer the big kid and you're just an average sized kid, sometimes you see those kids that dominate early because of their height, size, and weight are not the dominant kids later on. So as the kids get older, the work starts to decide who's going to be the better kid versus just genetics and you being birthed bigger, stronger, faster than other kids in the beginning. So that's kind of been my stance on it.
Right, and I been a referee, and I doing high school for 10 years, do a lot of rec ball, do a lot of AAU, did the Nike camp last year. I'll give you a prime example. So, refereeing the team, you can see the teams warming up. You see one team is clearly better than the other team. And you talk to the refs, okay, man, we might got to keep it clean, this team will probably get out and run, yada, yada, yada. So cool. We already got our mindset of what's going to happen. This team gets up. It's pressing every time down the floor. It's pressing. I mean, it was 23-0. And we weren't even 3-4 minutes to the first quarter. Right? The team calls a timeout. The team that's losing calls a timeout because they got to do something to stop the league. I mean, they were clearly not the better team. And they didn't get across half court one time. One time it was like a Hail Mary pass, baseball. I see this, and I know these kids, aren't as good. I know they probably won't. They want, they're gonna lose confidence. They're young kids. So I go to the coach. I stand by the coach by the coaching timeout. I'm like, hey, coach. I'm saying just like this. Hey, coach. You want to call the dogs off, man? I mean, come on. I mean, you up 23-0. This team, you let them across half court. So he tells me, you just referee. I said, cool. Call the huddle with the team, with the referees. Hey, man, this guy said, just referee. Don't worry about what his team is doing. So the ball is in play. I said, we look at each other. I'm talking the whole time, every 45 seconds. Hold. Out of bounds. I mean, for clearly 3.5, 4 minutes. Coach is like getting frustrated. I want to fight. I want out of bounds with us. I got to get them guys off. Get these guys some help. His parents, you got parents, brothers, sisters there to see them kids play. So after a while, I said, Coach, you good? You still good? He was like, half court set. I said, cool. Now we can play. Because you got these teams, and then when they get a half court set, the reason why he probably didn't like that because he don't have a half court offense.
Absolutely.
All he was hollering, motion. Move the ball. Out of bounds, they have one out of bounds play. They have one setup play. So now you have the fundamentals are lost.
Right.
You paying all this money for these kids to play and get looked at, because there are more people looking at AAU now. But it comes to a point where it's like, what do you learn if you just everybody can pass great? You're 6'4", 6'5", everybody can dunk and run, and you dunking on a 6'2" guy at the tallest. So that part is like it sucks ref in those games. But then again, I do kind of get a little sense of like what's out here because some of the games are competitive. And and then you have, some of the games are just like, man, this ain't over with, man. Let's go, So,
Right.
And I know you've seen part of that too.
No, I mean, I think to your point, you have a lot of people don't know how to coach. They just know how to recruit.
Bingo.
And the disservice, you have kids that think they're on an elite team, and the problem is you're elite until you face other elite kids that are being coached.
Yep.
And sometimes even if those kids are not elite, but if those kids are good quality kids, then when that press don't work because them kids are not getting scared and they're moving the basketball and they're getting layups on the back end, when I'm looking at coaches and when I'm looking at the AAU stuff, to your point, right, I consider everything. And I've been telling some of the kids that I've coached on the rec level that all of this stuff you do is preparation for varsity sports anyway. Because again, I've often told kids that, oh, I'm on this elite team. Look, there's no AAU All-Americans, right? Like there's no all-time AAU steals leaders. There's no all-time AAU points per game leaders. Like it's just not a thing. So when you play high school basketball at the varsity level, whether it's a private or in a public school, you can stamp your name in history. Where like the kid, I think it was Division II school. I mean, they lost in the championship game, but that kid just broke Matt McClung's single state championship basketball game record. I mean, he scored 53 points, and that kid's a freshman, if I believe. Either he's a freshman or a
Right.
sophomore. So like that kid in a loss scoring that 53 points did more than you scoring 12 steals against Joe Blow that's, no one's ever going to see again, right? That kid did more for himself in that state championship game. But, back to your original point, again, it's just a lot of coaches don't know how to coach. They just have elite kids that can cause havoc. So they don't want to put in the time, energy, and effort to really help those kids get better, because you're not going to Kentucky just playing, throw 'em up basketball, right? Like you're not going and playing for Coach Cal over in Arkansas, playing throw 'em up basketball. Like you're going to have to understand the actual fundamentals of basketball, and that's where a lot of kids lose it. But they will definitely be, baptized when they get to a college level program.
Right. And even with that, with that Virginia State record that's great. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wish I could have held it, but people forget and don't remember that McClellan boys broke the record in the championship game in the senior year. Matt McClellan broke the all-time scoring
Right.
in the senior year championship game.
Right.
People forget AI didn't play his whole senior year.
Right.
So you got to have perspective. Give AI another year of 25 games.
Right.
No one's touching that record. You have to have everything has to be in perspective. And then even with the coaching, it's like there's very few coaches that's there to coach this team, like whatever the team name is, that has no affiliation with the players. It's usually an uncle, a dad, a brother, or somebody who's there for the sole purpose of their son, daughter, or whatever. I've seen it. I see it all the time. I can pick it out when I see the coaching over there, and I see him force feed his son, or he's the one yanking his son up. Okay, that's his son. I can understand that. I personally have seen you coach all your boys. You pretty much across the board with all the players. Like if your boys that look like you, they wouldn't know who they are.
Right.
Because they don't come to you for special treatment. You don't go to them and give them special treatment. Like you're about winning. You want your son to do well, but at the end of the day, you still want to win.
Right.
So and that's a portion. That's a part I see too. That it's cool, but when you got a player who's maybe just good or better than your son, he's playing behind you, but because you want your son to get the shine, because you see somebody from Coastal Carolina up in the stands, or you see somebody from Kentucky up in the stands, now you want to just give him some shine. I get it, but in a sense, I don't. And that's where, if I was a parent, I would have a problem with it. And I see all this like just being on the neutral side of the referee. You know?
Well, my standard as a coach is this. I typically don't try to coach my kids past 13 anyway. So where some dads want to stay with their kids through the entire duration, I find a lot of value in your kids being coached by, I find a lot of you funny. I find a lot of value in your kids being coached by other people, because, and I also see too, sometimes when you can tell who the parents that played versus the parents that didn't. And then, one of our other homeboys said this in a rec game, and it bothered a guy so much that the guy was ready to fight, he said, "Look, man, I'm not out here living vicariously through my kids." So you can sense that. And again, for me, the standard has always been, I'm gonna coach my kids, but we all know that played at the college level. And I've even asked my kids this: are your parents rich enough to where they can have influence over a university? Do they have that type of money, right? Because you can have influence at a local organization up the street. You might even be able to have a little bit of influence at a local high school in a small area. But I asked some kids, do your parents have the type of money to where they can drop several million to where a university is like, okay, we're going to put your kid in the starting lineup? Because I said, if they don't, then your mom or dad coming to talk to me when you 12, 13 ain't going to help you, because when you go to college, everyone was the best player in their town. Everyone was MVP, first team all state, first team all this. And then there's first team all state kids that sit the bench in college because they were never put in a situation to compete at a young age. So for me, I never give my kids preferential treatment because I know eventually they're going to have to go out there and compete. And either I'm going to prepare them for the real world, or I'm going to give them a false sense of security. And that's what's going to break them when they get a little bit older, than more so than anything else. So again, I'd rather my kids learn the lesson early, because when they learn it early, they have time to work, right? When you older, a lot of like, yes, you can get better. Don't get me wrong. But, once you get out of high school, you got to make a decision whether you're going to be a college athlete or you're going to go into the work world or own your own business. So I just rather my kids learn that lesson earlier, sooner than later.
Prime example of what you were saying about the influence of these colleges. As I said, it's no coincidence Carmelo Anthony donates a lot of money to Syracuse. It's no coincidence his championship-winning teammate is now coaching his son, who didn't play last year.
Right.
It's no coincidence. That's what the influence you're talking about right there.
And
we
again,
we got Carmelo's son here. Get this guy out of here. Jerry McNamara, you just almost beat Duke. Come on.
And again,
and you think Jerry McNamara ain't gonna start a Cayenne?
And most 95% of parents don't have Carmelo type money or influence. So again, you're not going to be able to help
and probably less than 1% has won a national championship for that school.
Absolutely.
As a freshman.
Absolutely.
So you should, yeah. Yes, and that's just like the one of the parts I love and hate, because you, as a referee, I get parents on my back all the time. You quickly know whose son, daughter, whose father that boy is, or whose uncle that boy is, because you just hear it. And there's always like, 24, he didn't foul. What? Call foul. Y'all so it's like you quickly get it. So and it's like you have to be a parent too that realize your son or daughter does do wrong.
Absolutely.
Your son or daughter don't always make the play. Sometimes they travel. Sometimes they foul. Like I've got one time I was in Thomasdale. Thomasdale, when they were just fouling up a storm. Just like it comes a point you don't want, as a referee, you do not want the foul count to be 6-1.
Right.
Because they gonna get your hind part some kind of bait. Look at that foul.
Right.
So Thomasdale just kept fouling. Just like egregious fouls where, because usually if most referees, if they're doing the game right, if you drive to the basket and you get fouled, it didn't impede your travel to the basket, it didn't knock you off your path, we're letting that go.
Right.
If you knock the person off the path, whatever, they're going to call it. Because literally, you can call fouls all game if you want to.
Right.
But Thomasdale was doing so many egregious fouls, it was to the point where it's like, man, hey, beep, 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 kept calling. And then some lady yeah, he probably went here. He probably went to this high school. Like, so, as a referee, sometimes you can't win. It's like, y'all not seeing what we see? Like,
Right.
we don't want to call all these fouls on Thomasdale at home.
Right.
We want to go home too. We don't want to be here all night either. So, of course, they went bonus. They had like 3 minutes left in the quarter. They went bonus. I'm like, and then what can you do? So I get some parents have legitimate arguments. Some referees are trash. And
Right.
I've sat with you that game, and we watched referees. I'm like, okay, I don't know what you saw there or what he saw there, but
Right.
that's their game.
Right.
And it's like, you can always second guess stuff, but at some point, you have to realize, you got to realize what you call. Because there's some stuff like, come on now. Especially, you get a lot of help with the crowd, too. If you miss something or you call, a blue ball, and the whole crowd erupts, you might have missed that.
Right.
If you just call a blue ball, and it's kind of like, yeah, okay, it's part off of him. Yeah, minimum boo, but mostly whatever. But when the whole crowd erupts, you call blue and it's really white, you got, I owe him for that.
Right.
We sometimes don't have discernment because we're not supposed to. You can say what you want to about us. We can't. We don't supposed to look at the crowd. We're supposed to turn and talk back to you.
Right.
As long as it's nothing derogatory or racist or anything like that, we'll call security to get you.
Right.
But the whole time it's like, we just sit there. It ain't no big deal. We take it because the few times I did turn around, because there was one dude, he was just talking reckless. Yeah, he probably be, outside that uniform, blah, blah. And I'm like, you take it.
Right.
And keep going on. And it was a Petersburg football game. And you take it, keep going. And it's like, and it was like, he said something. So I turn around and look. And then all of a sudden, everybody looking straight ahead. No one want to look at my eye. You still be talking all that stuff. Now you don't want to look at it. So that's the part I don't.
Right.
Yeah,
That's fair. That's fair.
Because I know as a parent, you've been on refs, and you probably rightfully so. Like sometimes people have rightfully so been on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and then as a ref, you gotta realize, okay, I owe that team one. And you don't give them one where it's like you give them points, but if it's a controversial out of bounds call, I'm gonna give that to you.
Yeah.
Something like that. You're not gonna give them a foul and one just because you messed up a call.
Right. I would say, and this is, again, playing college football, coaching rec ball, and then being a fan. I have been able to see it from multiple different sides. And look, I'm hard on refs because I do, you have, like you said, some refs are good, some refs are not good, right? My thing has always been for a referee is I respect how refs control a game, right? So, and what I mean by control a game is when you start to see egregious stuff, right? Like kids get knocked down and you don't call nothing. Like this is not football, right? When you start to see a kid talking and the referees are not controlling the tempo, like refs can, like I understand that refs can do things to control games, i.e., if a kid, you don't always have to tech a kid up, right? The good refs cut stuff off before it gets out of hand, right? Because typically it's supposed to be 3 refs on the court. All avenues should be looked at, but you can see the refs that act like they don't see this kid elbowing a kid, in the post egregiously, right? And then they're shocked when it turns into pushing and shoving later on. Well, you've been letting this kid elbow this kid in the back of his head 3 and 4 times up the court. And now that this kid has retaliated, people are going to say when they see the clip, oh, this kid needs to have self-control. No, we have referees to keep me from getting elbowed in my head on purpose, right? So, I am one where refs do deserve blame for things, i.e., because I've lately seen this. I've seen a lot more refs start to yap at the crowd. And I'm like, you're an official. You're never supposed to react to the dad crying about this call Like I've seen more and more refs here lately where they're back and forth with the fans to the point where at a Manchester game, I've seen a ref tell a female patron, meet me in the parking lot. Like, what?
See?
And I'm sitting there thinking
And
to
you
myself, like,
and you escalate.
right,
You can't
right,
escalate. The crowd's already pissed off that they
right.
ain't winning.
This
Their
this this
son ain't
this
doing
man
well.
said,
You fouled their son out.
right. This man, I mean, again, he told her, he said, well, meet me in the parking lot. And I'm like, you a whole referee. Like, what are we talking about? Like, meet me in the so again, I mean, look, I know there's a statement that a lot of people don't want to ref because of the fans anymore, but I do see the professionalism of referees going down, and I do believe that refs, inferior refs, are more detrimental than the good ones. Or I appreciate the refs that, again, sometimes when things happen, they go coach the kids up, not coach the kids, but explain to the kid, look, this is what happened, right? Hey, look, if you don't
Yeah.
swing down, you good. If you stand there and, and then there's a little bit of contact, I'm not calling that, right? Like you're going to have to play through that. But the
Right.
moment you swing down, then I'm going to call that every time. Like I can respect the refs that do a good job of, hey, coach, look, such and such is doing a lot of talking. You better take him out of the game before I tee him up, right? So now the coach can
Yep.
take him out, or hey, coach, come over here and look, this is what's going on the court. Now, look, I saw him elbow the kid 2 times. I haven't called it yet, but either you do something about it or I'm going to assess XYZ. Like those referees you can appreciate because they are controlling the game and they're being non-partial versus the guy that just,
Right.
a kid clap and is walking away because he made a play and you teeing the kid up. Or like I've had a game this year where a kid tried to dunk. There was kids up under him, so he hung on the rim because, of course, if you've never dunked before, sometimes your momentum takes you to where you can't come off the rim as soon as you dunk,
Yep.
right? The kid goes to dunk. He's running on a fast break. His momentum takes him under, so he swings under the rim. Of course, he holds on and then comes down. Ref tech the kid up. So the kid looking like, like there was people up under me. And as a coach, as a dad, and as a fan, you got to tell that kid, you didn't do anything wrong. I'm sure your coach ain't gonna be mad at you because I would much rather you get a tee than break your arm falling off a rim because
Exactly.
you got a tech because you hung on the rim too long when your momentum took you under. Like those are refs that get on my nerves.
Yeah. And then you have too, where it's like you have to, like me personally, when I see someone in the lane for too long, I'm like, all right, watch the lane, get out the lane, get out the lane.
Right,
Or they out there playing defense on the perimeter. Watch your hands, watch your hands. And I'm
right,
saying it loud enough, they hear me, the crowd hears me. So when I call it, I've been warning you the whole time.
right,
And then too, you can't, if you're not going, they've been doing 3 seconds all first half.
right,
Nobody called it. You can't start calling the second half.
right,
You
right,
just can't do it.
right,
You got to establish. Okay, we have a meeting before every game. We have a meeting
right.
at halftime. When players going for halftime, we have our halftime. What we
Gotcha.
missed, what we can do better, what we can do watch. So we know, we're gonna watch that. The hands, number 13, those hands. He's real handsy. We gotta watch his hands. And sometimes if the players get too much, we call referee timeout. There's 3 of us. If I have the issue, the referees, they watch that. One referee watch that team, other referee watch that team. Players stay on the court. I go to the coach. Hey, coach, tell number 2, next time, he's not getting a warning.
Right,
And then they might get a little attitude, but they're going to tell number 2 to watch it.
right.
And that's how it should go most times.
And
So,
and
and you
and
can
those
kind
are
of
the
de-escalate everything and the crowd sees you going to the coach. So
right.
they can't, when I call it, when you still doing what I tell you not to do, you can't get mad when I finally call it.
And those are the type of refs. Because again, I mean, I'm a fan, but coaches have told me this, and again, I've only ever coached rec, but I don't like sitting in the crowd anymore. Like now that I've coached, because again, everyone knows what to do after something already happened. So we've all had armchair quarterbacks, etc. Right? But to your point,
Everybody can coach your team better.
you know, those are the type of refs where I've been in the crowd and I'm seeing the ref do a good job, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, no, that was a foul. Like he draw back and hit it, even though it's our team. I'm like, no, you fouled him. Like I would yell out to our players, like, no, you fouled him, right? Like you didn't get there
Right.
on time. You ran into the kid. You knocked the kid. You fouled him because again, the NBA will teach kids they can complain about everything, right? And a lot of kids try to mimic
Mm-hmm.
what they see the stars do, and we all know flopping is a big, huge issue in the NBA level. So
Yep.
kids are trying to do that, and I oftentimes tell our kids, yes, you 3 seconds. No, that's the right call. Or you even got to tell your fans, like, no, the ball was out on us. Like you crying for a call, it was clearly out on us. What are you talking about? You getting all riled up for something that was true. But again, I
Exactly.
appreciate the refs that do exactly what you said. And you can't argue with refs that are doing it the right way. But again, there's a lot of refs that don't, and it gives all refs a bad name, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth because no one wants to
Yeah.
see a
We,
game that's decided by referees versus decided by the kids on the court.
when we have a crew of three, and one is not that great, and he's like, because it's a unwritten rule between referees. If you're reffing, another ref, and I'm reffing, and you make a call, it's just like we're like, what in the world did you see? To call it, we can't now go and say no, it wasn't a trial or
Right,
it wasn't foul because now the crowds will be like, oh, he don't even know what he's doing.
right,
So
right,
we
right.
have to talk about that in halftime. I'm not a big tech giver, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
only giving 2 texts out.
Oh wow.
I gave 2 texts out to a coach and 1 to a player who threw an elbow, and I was like, hey, watch it, keep your elbow down. He got the rebound, but he threw his elbow very. I
Mm.
mean, it was on purpose. And I was like, hey, you gotta watch your elbow. He was like, tell him to watch here.
You're right.
I'm telling you, dude, I don't want to take you up. He was one
Right,
of the better players on the team. Then you gonna like kind of like in my face. Everybody looking. Then his dad was barking in the audience. So now I got him in there. So that's when referees get jumped because when they go address the dad, shut up, you don't tell me what to do. Then now you don't because you don't know, especially with AAU. I'm barking at you because you're telling me I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going back at you yapping. I don't know who with you.
right,
I don't
right.
know
No, right,
if old
right,
uncle, if
right,
old got an older brother, if old boys with him. I don't know that. That's why when you get in the court, you see those referees, those viral videos. There's about 7 guys on one guy.
right,
And I'm
right,
sure you won't barking at 7. You barking at 1.
right.
So
So, and you just said this, right? So probably about 3 weeks ago, we went to a rec championship game, right? Crowd full of people. I mean, it was a good crowd for CBL, right? It was a play that happened, and the crowd went crazy, right? Tell me why the ref was like, "Shut up! Y'all need to shut up!" And I said, "Whoa!" I said, "Whoa!" I said, "Look,
wow,
now he getting paid to ref the game. You can't tell a crowd full of adults to shut up." I said, "That's a quick way to get your hind whooped because you're telling grown adults to shut up when it was a clear and obvious call." He said, "Shut up. Y'all let me ref the game." And I said, again, I'm glad I won't mad about the call
he's right there.
because you're putting yourself like you've now taken it from refereeing to making it personal because some people need you to put your hands on them before they react. Some people, there's certain things you can't say to them and they gonna react. But again, when
Right.
the video comes down that someone came out of the stands and is hitting on the referee, the comments gonna say you can't take people nowhere, but the comments not gonna say the ref told the crowd to shut up. and these are adults you're talking to. So, like to the point I made earlier, I've seen a lot of referees be very, very unprofessional in today's environment, and it's a detriment to the game, and I think it's a detriment to their safety because people do take sports way too serious. So
Right.
I would just caution refs to look. I mean, people can get as mad as they want, but typically, if the refs don't respond, it'll typically just stay in the crowd. And then again,
Yep.
you can start making even more bad calls if you want to, right? Ain't nothing they can do as long as you don't respond. But I've just seen way too many refs are overly responding to people in the crowd, and I think it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, because like I always tell people all the time, it's like I enjoy refereeing, but high school is way better in the sense of security because they have, your county police. Every high school game, they got the
Right.
police there, whatever the city or county in. AAU has nothing. You don't even have a friend there because ain't nobody come to see you referee.
Right.
You got all these players, of these parents and stuff come to see these kids play. So that's where all the people get jumping. You don't see nobody get jumping in high school games too much. Every now and then you will, but
Right.
it's always these little rec games, AU games, and these little locales where you got these teams from Florida, Georgia, North Carolina coming down, and you're there alone. You're there all alone. So it doesn't in those AU crowds. They have those little metal benches probably about 4 or 5 rows up. They right on top of you.
Well,
So they can easily get to you.
well, not only
So
it's
it's like
easy to get to, but you also got to remember the AAU crowds are paying Section 400 level prices to watch Little Johnny play. So you talking about that's $200 for a family of 4 to watch. So you miss the calls on them AAU ones. It hurt a little bit different than a $10 ticket to watch the Lancers play up the street.
Exactly, and a lot of those kids that they're riding on this like for schools and now NIL deals,
right?
Because I tell you, I remember AAU teams been about $500. I saw a kid, a parent, one of the parents I worked with. Yeah, man, I get my kid, he's paying AAU, man, team's $950. No, it was $1,050 for the team. I'm like, for the team? I said, what do you get? Mitchell and Ness jerseys or something? They get a jersey every game? They get sneakers with it?
Right.
Oh, man, that's what it costs. I said, and then if they travel, it's going to cost you got to raise money for the hotel stay. I'm like, I mean, yeah. And I understand that because some of those parents that be jumping on those rails, they done flew wherever they at before they drove miles and miles where they at to be, you be out there barking and get mad at them. So I know that as a referee, when I go to Blue Whale, I see this team from Tennessee, this team come down from Delaware, this team come down from New Jersey. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know who comes with these kids. I'm gonna call the calls I call. I don't know nobody, so I ain't gonna be influenced one way or the other. I'm gonna make the calls I call. And yeah, you get a bark that whatever they get louder, but I've never had an issue. I've actually had games where I do a game, I get dressed and I come parking lot, parents see me, whatever, man. Hey man, I know we were on you, man, but you did a good job, man. You all right. That's the kind of respect I like. They're gonna be on you regardless. But when they know you were calling both ways and so
Right. No, yeah. I mean, and again, like you said, you meet a couple refs. What was her name? I think her name was Gabby. If you know her, she coaches at Dale. So she's one of the girls basketball coaches at Dale. She referees. I think her name is Gabrielle. I think Gabrielle or something like that. And I was on her one night, right? She was like, "Yo, like," but again, like you said, like, she was calling it. And look, I'm gonna be quote unquote sometimes biased towards my team because sometimes if you can get one, you can get one, right? But after she was like, man, you was on me. And I was like, nah, no, man, that's all good. I said, man, you know I got to do that, right? And she was like, yeah. So so I built a good rapport with her or some of the other refs that are doing it the right way. And then, so you do get some of those relationships because again, it's all part of the game, and as long as you're respectful, I'm gonna be respectful. I'm gonna get on you, But then, I mean, it's after the game over, it is what it is. Then we gone.
Exactly. And as a referee, it's like sometimes, like when you know you got a tough game in the crowds, one team got 2 losses, the other team got 3 losses, 1 loss, and it's like a Friday night game, high school game, and you just sometimes you're like, I wouldn't mind a blowout because you can't really get too much. It ain't too much things that can mess with you as a referee once in a blowout.
Right.
I can't. There's nothing I can do to help out with a 25-point loss. I didn't call that. So
Right.
those are the games you go, we get off the hook. Woo. When it's like a game where it's like back and forth, coming out to last possession, you're like, oh Jesus.
Right.
So that's yeah. But overall, though, man, it's AAU is taking a different form now. It's almost to the point where it's very monetized. I'll put it that way. It's very
Absolutely.
monetized, and most people you won't see a lot of coaches and scouts at high school games, but you'll see them at AAU games. It's like I used to kind of see it, see certain teams, coaches or whatever, certain teams, Greensboro, JMU, whatever, certain players. You don't even see them in the stands no more. Like you think about it, like we was talking about it. I think when you was talking about it, how it was you. Now everybody got a YouTube channel. I ain't got to come see you. Post your highlights. Oh, you got a Twitter page. Post your stuff on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. So
Right.
the dynamic change, and it's like like I say, one of the things you got to keep with the times or not. And it is what it is.
Well, yeah, the times with AAU is if you're not on a sneaker, if you're not on a sneaker, circuit, it's just glorified
Yep.
rec. So, you know, youth sports have become such a moneymaker that a lot of people are doing it for the wrong reasons. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
diluting the quality, it's really diluting the product per se. Um, and it's very unfortunate because you have a lot of parents who are paying these astronomical fees that you were talking about earlier, and they have no clue that you can play the team that you playing in Florida. You can play that team right on Richmond at well, you can't even call it Big Ben Gym no more, but like you can play that team right up
Yeah.
the street, right? Like you're
Or
spending
Rocket
all
too.
this money to go to Florida to play the same teams that you gonna normally play, and ain't no college coach is gonna be there. So it's unfortunate that some parents
Yeah.
don't really know the level of where their kids are playing, and they're paying all this
Right.
money for exposure that they're not going to get out of the deal. It's unfortunate because I've seen it far
Because
too
anybody can
often.
start an AAU team.
Anybody.
Anybody can start an AAU team. You don't know what circuit to get on. You don't know
Right.
the right contacts.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, that's why those established ones. That's why who will basically build an empire from starting the team
Right.
because he had players like Iverson, Joe Smith. He got his own facility now.
Right. Right.
He got
Right.
his son in the NBA for a couple of years.
Right. Right.
So it's and he's known all throughout the states at AAU circuit.
Right.
Right out of him. So unless you own one of those circuits to end with that kind of crowd, it ain't happening. Because
And then again, this is the other hard truth is look, if your kid ain't 6'4", I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, he's a really I forget the guy on social media that said it. He was like, look, there's a lot of kids that are very, very good at basketball that are 5'10" and 6 foot. All the all I think the guy on social media said he told the kids, like 100 kids or whatever, right? He said, look, anybody 6'1" or shorter, I need y'all to go stand over there. He said, anybody 6'2" to 6'3", I need y'all to go stand over there. He said, anybody 6'4" and above, go stand over there, right? And he said, when you look around, he said, let me ask y'all a question. Where are most of the kids at? And they was like in that 5'10" range. He said, so I need you to, he said, where are the least amount of kids at? 6'4" and taller, right? He said, so I need y'all to understand this. I can find any of y'all anywhere. I'm looking for those kids, you know. So some parents gotta
That's right.
understand too, if little Timmy is 5'9", he might be a hell of a basketball player. What is his name? Julian Newman? Yeah, he's a hell of a basketball player when he in 8th grade, right? He's
Yep.
5'4". Ain't nobody looking for no 5'4" point guards. You know, like
Nope.
Spud Webb and them were anomalies. They were not the norm. You know, so
And Spud Webb and Muggsy Bogues, they got in when they really wanted to know. It was a big man league.
right,
So you just imagine how good they had to be.
right. You
It's
know,
like, shit.
so it's so that's the other part about, you know, like, you know, I'm looking at some parents and I'm looking at their kid and I'm like, your kid has a football player's body type. He probably should go play linebacker, right? He's 6 foot, 240, right? That's not a basketball player. Basketball players are
Yeah.
6'9", 215, right? A heavy basketball player is considered like 240. So, you
Yeah.
know, like that's the part where I'm like, y'all have no clue what the next level looks like. Like y'all have these pipe dreams, and I'm not saying that your kid can't. I'll never tell a kid what they can't do, but again, major programs have height, weight, and size charts for kids that they want to recruit.
Right.
And if you don't hit that number, you can be player of the year, and that's cool, right? But a lot of these high level programs go more off of your potential than your actual game
Yep.
sometimes. And it might, and it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but that's just what it is. So that's
Yeah,
another thing that
you
parents
look
got to
at players
consider.
who, yeah, you look at players who make these All American McDonald's All American teams. When you look at those teams, they're the best of the best.
Right,
They're the best of the best in the United States high school basketball circuit. And you can pick about 3 or 4 of them that do something in the NBA.
right.
A lot of them, some of them make some of them go overseas because they make it, roster maybe 1 or 2 years, and then like, okay, I ain't playing.
Yeah, that kind. I mean, because I think, I mean, this is it's not even controversial, but when you look at like I think Bronny James is a perfect example. When he go back to the G League, I think I posted about it a couple days ago. They said, man, when Bronny go to the G League, he looked like LeBron. You know, like he
Yeah,
goes to the G League and be dunking on those cats. He hitting threes,
right.
shooting, 4 from three, 4 of 6. People just don't understand the talent difference because that's Bronny when he played that NBA game, he looked very mid to well below
Yeah,
average amongst his peers because that closed out a little bit different from that high level NBA player than it is from the G
right.
League player, right? And even still, that G League player, because Scalabrini used to show folks all the time, you know, because I also think, with the age of YouTube, it's great because people don't realize, like the story of Draymond Green. Draymond averaged like 30 in Michigan when he was getting recruited. Like Draymond, right? He
Yeah,
get in the league, we call him triple single. That's in the league.
yeah,
But, like Patrick Beverly was another one. Patrick Beverly was all world in Chicago. Patrick was scoring
yep,
like 35 a game. He is a
exactly.
defensive guy in the league. I mean, so people just don't be realizing how talented these role players are and were in their respective high schools or colleges. And now you're on an NBA team and they not even letting you shoot the ball. But you used to put up 30
Yeah,
a game in high school. So
yep.
I mean, I just think it's interesting because some parents just don't really understand, what their kids are really going to have to do. And that's why I always tell kids, because, you have kids that all they talk about is scoring. And I'm like, you better work on your complete game. Can you play defense?
Yep.
Do you hustle to get rebounds? Can you control
Yep.
the tempo of a game by you passing the ball? Do you communicate on
You can make
defense?
you can make a whole career off something besides scoring.
Right. Right.
Draymond, Rodman, Mark Jackson, those type of players. Mark Jackson wasn't fast, he was slow, but he ran the offense. He
Right.
knew his role.
Right.
And if people don't realize, it's even from the smaller school athletes like ourselves, smaller college athletes like ourselves, it's only a minute amount of from us to the guys playing in USC and stuff like that. And then
Right.
when you get to USC, that running back that's bottom on the depth chart is only a little bit between him and Reggie Bush, but he ain't Reggie Bush.
Right.
You get to the league, the G League players, yeah, they're NBA professional players, but it's a difference between that guy who looked like LeBron than LeBron.
Lighten it up.
It's like I said, the old saying is levels to this.
Right.
But overall, I think that was a good synopsis of AAU, where it is, where it's going, and how it's going. Because now we're in the basketball season. The AAU basketball season. Now high schools take on, and so it's going to be AAU all over the place. NBA Summer League is coming up, and I appreciate Boy taking the time out with me to discuss this. And we may have more discussions as time goes on, because we're just getting started with the AAU season. And I appreciate you for joining me, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Right.
That concludes this episode of Shoot Shoot. I hope you guys have maybe learned something. We entertained you. If you have something to add or comments you want to add, or instances or experiences you have with AAU basketball, feel free to comment on the YouTube page, Shoot, TikTok, Instagram, anything you would like. And as always, a like, share, follow will be very, very appreciated. Until then, guys, shoot that thing.